Just waiting for Gaetano and Canberk to join. Here they are. Hey guys.
Hello.
Nice to see you. So thank you. Welcome to the Loop Live, as Jamie says on the chat. So Gaetano, Canberk and I are gonna have hopefully a very valuable conversation around outdated tactics, kind of the quick wins that we've deployed at Cognism, like where we've placed our bets. So where we've placed our bets in regards to content, our whole content framework, SEO, paid social. So we're really going to show you guys kind of the outdated tactics we left behind and where we placed our bets on these new style tactics. So please do ask your questions throughout. I think you probably are all familiar with Gaetano and Canberk already, so we probably don't need to do introductions, but yeah, welcome guys. And I'm going to share a few slides throughout. We will be sharing this recording and slides at the end. And again, we want to make it as interactive as possible. So please do ask questions and we will try and answer them at the end. If not, reach out to us on LinkedIn and we'll continue the conversation. So let's kick it off. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. I hope everybody can see that. So shout if you cannot. Can you see? Yep. Okay, cool. Let's go. I guess like just Canberk and Gaetano, like, I mean, it's all written on a slide here, but I just wanted to start with just like why we need to update our tactics. So we talk a lot about the buyer journey, not being linear, and we often like put our audience into these like fantasy funnels. But I guess from you guys, like from your perspective, what was the biggest reason that this shift had to happen? Like, what are you seeing like marketers do time and time again, and you're just like, it's old school, we need to switch it up?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. The bullet points you have here, Fran, are quite good. But I'm a fan of just challenging the status quo, the way things have always been done all the time. I posted about tofu, mofu, bofu. Top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel. The way that a lot of content marketers and content strategists have traditionally thought about the way that they create content for B2B websites. I even remember sitting in strategy sessions where my manager would be like, well, is it more tofu or is it more mofu? It's kind of mofu-ish, but it could be bofu. But when you just like zoom out and forget about all this marketing jargon stuff, the bottom line is that the way people buy is no longer the way we've been told that they buy, which you can say the tech vendors have done a good job at getting people to market in a way that is more favorable to buying their products. And we all know that even in terms of like the way people consume stuff now, they don't really go to your website unless they're reasonably interested. Nobody's reading feature pages for their afternoon enjoyment. I've always said that, and if they're on your site reading feature pages, there's a reasonable level of interest, but at the same time, you don't know what the level of that interest is. And so, pushing everything to get a demo talk to sales, meanwhile, that represents the very smallest portion of traffic that's coming to your site. I think it's definitely a disconnect, and it aligns very well to the narrative that Cognism has, which is B2B buyers have changed. They do their own research. They don't want to speak to sales, at least not right away. And they want access to everything pretty much on their own so they can make an informed decision in their own time. And if you look at the Cognism, easy mode framework, the way you guys have approached more narrative style content, that format for the content is a mix of on the Cognism website and off-site. So not trying to always push people from LinkedIn or social media or all these other places to the site, but realizing that those experiences within the platform are also extremely valuable. So just having a more realistic, modern approach to the way we're doing things. And I love it. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that was a big shift for us, actually. It seems logical now, but almost that mindset shift where it's like, we don't actually have to take our audience to the website. So, and then there was a mild panic because we were like, if they don't go to the website, how will we know if they are a true conversion? And like, kind of, when we're thinking about paid social, like the campaigns, we were so used to going traffic objective or conversion objective. And I think Canberk will speak to this later on, but we've really transformed like our approach in terms of how we're structuring paid social in particular. It's definitely a lot more value led, shall we say. Cool. So yeah, I suppose I've just kind of highlighted this. It's more to share afterwards, so you guys can kind of just have it all in written format. But we know that buyers want to self-serve. We know that we were causing a lot of friction by running like ebook campaigns. We were building like nurtures, assuming people were ready to buy, and that I mean, I could go on about this forever, but that kind of really feeds into like the lead scoring model, and just because someone's clicked on an email, they get 10 points. And I think at previous organizations, I've spent hours and hours working out what the value of an open is versus the value of a click and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I'd say probably quite a lot of hours wasted on the kind of tactics like that. And then content syndication. I mean, yeah, I think, sorry, you can definitely speak to this, but as you just said, people are not sitting reading your feature sort of requests regularly. They're consuming, as you said, they're consuming content in a completely different way.
Yeah, to the point of content syndication, it's pretty funny. I had a former manager that was really bullish on content syndication, and I couldn't fight him on it. I just had to disagree and commit. And I think a lot of people probably on this call are in a scenario where, their manager or their CMO or whoever is really bullish on some of these tactics, and they're in a position where they're forced to disagree and commit. So when I was in the scenario where I had to disagree and commit internally to my CMO, I said, all right, cool. You want to do content syndication? Let's do it. So we did it. And, month 2 goes by, 3 months go by, and the data will actually show you that you're not really getting much out of it. And so then I remember he called this workshop, this team workshop, how to get more ROI out of the content syndication program. And I showed up to that workshop, and I opened it up with, hey, who here on this call has ever been reading, an article on some tech blog or something, or an affiliate blog or whatever, and has seen a ad within that content somewhere, either on the sidebar, a pop-up that says download this report, or whatever, and actually entered your information and then consumed and read the report, and then had a more had a more kind of interested viewpoint on whatever it is that syndication was pushing. And like everybody was like, yeah, never. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point. This is just,
and now you're asking your audience to do that.
Yeah, this is just not the thing that people do. Now I see Natalie in the comments saying this must be market specific because it's an effective channel in higher education. And maybe there's some degree of truth to that. There may be some industries where people just have much more inclination to reading materials, but it still doesn't prove or disprove someone's level of buying intent. Just because they're reading something, you have no idea whether or not they are in market for your solution or out of market. And so all you can really say is, all right, they consumed some kind of material, and I have no idea whether or not that's driving them one step closer to becoming a fan of my company, product, brand, and solution or not. So I don't know, Canberk, if you've got anything else on that, but that's just my quick rant on it.
I totally agree with you. And one of my former CMOs, she was also bullish with content syndication, and I do exactly remember how much we paid. It was $55 for lead, and it was like minimum 1,000 leads. So we ended up paying like a huge amount of money. Out of that 1,000 content syndication leads, there has been one closed deal, which worth like $1,000, and the whole strategy at that point was on content syndication because it was an easy way to generate more MQLs, and to be fair, it was also an easier way to make salespeople happy.
Yeah, those were the days. Feeding
Yeah.
feeding sales leads, but then spending 3 hours on the phone with them, discussing how bad they were or why they haven't followed up with them. But yeah.
So there is a question from Julie, and I think, Canberk, you're going to answer it in the coming slides, so maybe we won't spend too much time on it. But basically, the question is, what's the difference between content syndication on outdated versus paid content distribution on modern? So I think you're addressing that in further slides, but if you just want to drop a line on it now, you can go for it.
So in our case, paid content distribution is about getting impressions on LinkedIn, but it is actually about educating the audience without expecting them to click on the content, without expecting them to visit the website, but it is rather showing our content in feed and making them consume that content in 2 seconds, in 3 seconds. And with this, we actually don't spend any time of the users. Like, we know that every person on LinkedIn sees hundreds ads every day. Therefore, nobody has time to click on one more ad. But for this reason, we basically show our content in a form that can be consumed in seconds. And that's what we call in-feed consumption.
Yeah, exactly. And I think content syndication, like traditionally is, you're paying for an ad somewhere or to be on somebody's newsletter or whatever, and they'll direct to usually your ebook and you will get given those leads. So yeah, there is that, definitely is that difference there. But we will have a little deep dive. This really resonates with content syndication. We were able to get leads, but then on the call, they never remembered downloading anything. I think that is a real classic. Cool. We're going to now just deep dive and explain to you guys like where we've placed our bets, trying to make it as tactical as possible. So we're going to start with the content framework that Gaetano spoke to earlier. So I'm just going to run through top level what we've done, and it'll be presented on the slides quite tactically for you guys to consume afterwards. So from the content perspective, so our content framework, as we mentioned, the Easy Mode framework, which we actually did a session on, that was recorded in the last Loop Live. So you guys should check that out, and it shows you exactly how to structure it. But broadly speaking, sort of what we did with our content is traditionally we had this model where we ran ebooks, so gated ebooks around topics that would resonate with sales leaders because they're our core ICP, and also marketing leaders. So we'd have like a big guide on the top 10 ways to cold call or something like that. And we'd get everyone to put their email addresses in. We'd collect those email addresses, send them to sales, like the normal flow, and then put them into a nurture. So really, like, what we wanted to do was kind of like reduce this friction. We realized, and we use this example a lot, but once we kind of split out our funnel, we realized that these leads that we were collecting from our ebooks and guides, we needed around 500 of these leads for one close, one deal. Whereas if we looked at like the inbound demo requests that we brought in, we needed 25. So if someone came to our website as a hand raiser and said, I want a demo with Cognism, it would take 25 of those leads for a close one. And then for content, the lead collection, it would, I think it required 500 for us when we split out that funnel. So for us, like, it was very clear what we needed to do. We needed to really drive more of these hand raisers. I require a demo, essentially. So just how the team was set up previously. So our writers were focused on blog content, and some SEO, like largely going after like low difficulty keywords. They produced articles like once or twice a week, and that was kind of like the state of play. So that's what they would rinse and repeat again and again. So like responsibilities, so we would identify like a loose theme for the quarter, produce kind of in silo from the demand gen team as well, being honest, producing a blog post a week, and then we would think about maybe we should include some video links or something like that. And we just reported on like number of views and like time on page, and that was largely what the content team were responsible for. Quite a traditional setup, I'd say. It's most companies I've worked at follows this kind of blueprint. I guess you guys can attest to that as well. It's like the rinse and repeat formula, I guess, that happens quite a lot. So yeah, and then the new state for us, our main goal was to drive consistent value. So we started thinking about how we could provide like a value loop. So essentially that's providing consistent value where your audience actually hang out. So that's what we were speaking about before. We really don't need to just be sending people to a website just to get traffic. What we needed to do was engage people where they were at that time. So in their LinkedIn feed, for example, how can we stop the scroll and engage them in feed? So we knew that we had to create this value-driven approach. We knew there was a silo between the content and the DG team. So what we actually did was brought content execs to sit within the DG team and work closely with the demand gen managers. We worked really, as I mentioned, on a framework which essentially consists of a strong narrative, and then it consists of points of view that we can go to the market with. So strong points of view that will resonate with each of our personas. And also I think when you're thinking about going out there with these points of view, I think it's so important, I don't know what you guys think, but to really just take a stance. You can't actually be all things to all people. So I think it was like quite hard for us in the beginning, but we had to just say, right, we're going to take this stance. We're going to focus on the shift between from lead gen to demand gen, for example. So that was super important for us. What was previously like a little bit difficult to achieve, but we pushed ourselves and we sort of went out to market with some strong points of view. And now the content execs work closely with the DG managers, and they are really like aligned, but they're focused on fueling this media machine that we have. So our media machine is made up of a podcast. It's made up of live events such as this one here, organic social posts, still blog posts still exist, but just and also like video content as well. So it's like thinking about different formats. So really like the role has changed quite a lot. So the responsibilities are not writing blog posts every week. It's fueling the media machine, sharing the strategic narrative and points of view across all of those media machine channels, and working with subject matter experts and influencers as well. And also just becoming a lot more data driven. So this is kind of what they report on, and almost like what their day-to-day has gone from like writing blogs to kind of all of these different elements, and they can be different like per company. Like this is just what works for us, but now they're really focused on the blog, the newsletter, the podcast, organic social, live events, and it's just literally I'm not going to list off every single metric here, but it's really just reporting on what makes sense. So we're going to look at organic social, and we want to think about like the engagement that we've had there. We're looking at the newsletter. We want to look at like the read rate, the open rate. So really like we've gone from kind of this linear get content out, get leads, get MQLs, report on conversions only on paid social, to really thinking about what does the engagement look like? Are people coming back? Do people want to be part of our value loop? So if you're regularly attending our events like this one, you're engaging within our value loop, which is so much more valuable than you just seeing one of our ebooks and ending up in our Salesforce instance. So that's kind of like the switch that we've made. We can take questions on that at the end. And as I said, the previous episode really deep dives that. So make sure to check it out. Again, this is just like the proof of switching to this engagement-led approach, this value-led approach, we're just seeing some amazing results. So we're getting, over 300 likes on our organic posts, whereas before we got like 20. Our open rates have increased. The engagement was like, over 100% higher versus our normal blog average, because actually we're going to write a blog on a strong point of view, but then we're going to be talking about that point of view on episodes of The Loop. We're going to be talking about that point of view in the newsletter. We're going to be talking about that strong point of view, all in a very value-led way on organic social. So when you come to read the blog post, you're already invested, you're already engaged, and the read rate is much higher because it's not a standalone piece, it's part of a whole like narrative. So that's just kind of like the content bit that we've been really focusing on. And I'd love Gaetano now to just like go into what we've done on the SEO side, because we've been working closely with Gaetano on this, and he's really worked his magic, let's say, and transformed how we're looking at SEO. So I will be quiet now and let you talk about that.
Well, thank you, Fran. And the last point on the stuff you just shared is and this can be applied to SEO, this can be applied to demand gen content, this can be applied to paid social, this can be applied to organic social, this can be applied to email. This next thing that I will just describe can be applied to anything. You really have three buckets. You have input metrics, the things marketers are doing. So that's creating social posts, creating videos, repurposing content, building backlinks, building new landing pages, refreshing pages, rewriting ad copy. The activities are step one. Step two is the leading indicators, the things that you guys have now just started looking at, which most executives, quite frankly, don't really care about. They tend to just look at the first thing, which is the inputs. How busy is our team? And then they skip straight to the outcomes. All right, what is that producing? What is that producing? Well, the biggest disconnect that there could ever be is an executive who doesn't understand that middle ground, right? Like if everyone's busy, but there's no engagement, well, obviously you're not going to have any outcomes, right? So that's a big broken feedback loop in digital marketing today for B2B. We have a plan, we have resources, we have OKRs, everybody's doing all this work. We don't know what's happening in the middle, and then we expect on the end outcome of that pipeline. So not understanding the quality of the inputs to the engagement to the outcome is what's sorely broken. And if we apply this concept to SEO, you can see that there's some of that going on in there, but we can get into it. So focused on keyword clusters. Who came out with the hub and spoke model? HubSpot, right? So there you go again. Beware of any time a vendor company comes out and pushes an idea, because there's usually some kind of underlying, objective to that. So the hub and spoke model, it was great at one time. And yes, I still do think that there's some value in interlinking hub pages with long tail pages, right? But it's not really the best way to go about getting pipeline and inbound demand capture going for a software company. So to the point that's here below, the strategy was successful in growing traffic, but not so much on the conversion side. And then, most software companies fall into the trap of targeting high volume keywords because it aligns to the company's product category, but rarely would this produce new customer acquisition. So, an example of Cognism, you guys have produced a massive guide to demand gen. That's great. And it's on target, but I don't think that something like that would create customer signups for you guys, even though it's relevant to your audience. So we can go to the next slide. The new is focusing on the declared intent money keywords. So this strategy focuses on who, if we had a roulette wheel in front of us and we're betting on these areas of the board, which keywords represent the traffic that's most likely to be in market. And let's just hit that. What is demand gen? Who knows if they're in market or not? B2B Data contact providers, yeah, I think they're in market, right? So going down that path is much smarter. And we've been doing it at Cognism. So anyway, the point is we're spending more time and money on high intent keywords that will drive conversions. As a result, this has contributed to a record high number of conversions from the blog in the first quarter for Cognism, and the organic traffic value has risen, while the organic traffic value of some of our top competitors has gone the other way. So looking at traffic value as a proxy metric can be very powerful. Any other slides on this, Fran? I think that's a wrap. So yeah, long story short is instead of just targeting big, broad, high volume keywords, go long tail, pain point, bottom of funnel, and just focus there. Don't even worry too much about organic traffic growth month over month. If you're a software company, you probably don't need 10,000 new pages driving hundreds of thousands of visitors. You probably just need, 300 to 400 pages driving 20 to 30,000 high quality visitors that are all laser focused and aligned to the thing that you guys offer. So, yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes total sense. Great. So Canberk, I'm going to give you the floor to talk about how we're now thinking about paid, I guess, versus before. Let me kick you off. Here you go.
Thank you, Fran. I believe we had to switch our approach for a reason, because as we keep saying that the buyer journey has changed dramatically, and it has changed for a reason. Scott Brinker, he's also called the godfather of MarTech. I've been following him for years, and each year he publishes a worldwide MarTech landscape. And according to this list, there are 73x more MarTech companies today compared to 12 years ago. 73x. Compared to just last year, there are 10% more MarTech companies today. And these are all still active companies. We are not talking about the ones that went out of the business. They are still in the business. And this is growing. Probably next year, there will be 10% more. And all of these companies are trying to grow by promising almost identical value propositions. And to be fair, you can't blame them. We can't blame them. This is a business. Every company will be offering to grow your business, making your business more efficient. But this situation actually creates a status quo in marketing. Same strategy, same approach, same offering. And an average buyer sees hundreds of different ads on LinkedIn every day. And to be fair, nobody has any time to download yet another ebook or listen another sales pitch right away. And this means that we need to be reaching our buyers early in their journey before they are in market, and we need to create that demand first. And in the light of this, we work with a 65 versus 35 split for creating versus capturing demand, which means that we spent around 65% of our budget on the activities that designed to build momentum and desire for the product, company, and brand, and 35% only for capturing the demand when they are ready in market to buy. And so how we do that? On the demand creation side, the demand generation team is responsible for the messaging and content that is tied to the easy mode framework. And the paid team is responsible for the structure, optimization, and the budget of campaigns. But there's a strong collaboration between the paid and demand gen team. And I believe this is the most important part. There needs to be a really close collaboration between two teams. And these two teams mutually own the channels. On the reporting side, the paid team reports on the metrics and insights bi-weekly, and we basically let the demand generation team know about the trends. If we see something weird going on, if we see a trend going on, the demand gen team knows it right away so that they can action about it. Frank, can you skip for the next one? Oh, yep. Yep. So on the campaign structure side, we are mostly focusing on no-click campaigns, in-feed consumption campaigns, as I mentioned in the first slide. Therefore, we are actually optimizing our campaigns into reach, and we are after reaching as many people as possible within our ICP rather than getting website conversions or website visits. With this way, we basically unlock the actual power of LinkedIn. Otherwise, if you focus on traffic, like if your campaign objective is traffic on LinkedIn, then LinkedIn will be optimizing your campaigns to get more clicks. But this will cause that your frequency level will be maximized, and it will limit your potential reach. Similar with conversion objective, you can use your conversion objective. LinkedIn will optimize your campaigns for conversion, but probably you will end up hitting 5-6 frequency levels in a week, while you will probably hit like 2 or 3 frequency levels with reach campaigns in like 2 months. Therefore, reach is our most important objective in our campaigns. And on the paid media account and structure standpoint, we start with LinkedIn and Facebook on the paid social site. And obviously, LinkedIn is the main channel. And I believe we switched to Facebook. We started to test Facebook 2 months, maybe 3 months after we made sure that LinkedIn was working. After we made sure that Facebook was working, we added YouTube and Reddit. And every paid social account has its own unique structure. And I cannot say that there's a blueprint for our account structure. We are where we are right now with a lot of testing. And this definitely doesn't mean that our current structure are final. Rather, I feel like these account structures are living organisms that we continue to evolve. And to be fair, just before this webinar, we decided to change the structure for one more time. But we start with a very basic structure. It was basically region, persona, and bucket. On the bucket standpoint, we had 4 important buckets. One of them was the product value, the other social proof, thought leadership, and product value, thought leadership, and content. And also we had the demo on the demand capture side. But as we started to get more granular, we had to differentiate our content. We first differentiate our content for the company size, then for the job seniority, then for the content type itself, ad type itself. And compared to last year, now our engagement rate got 5x better. But we didn't start with like a proper structure. We really start with basics. Then as we saw the numbers, we implemented the new structure when needed. And I believe one of our biggest successes was to be able to implement the experiment-led growth mindset in the team. We do experiment a lot, and every person in my team has one KPI every quarter on a new experiment, because we aim to improve the main metrics by 10% every quarter. By main metrics, I mean, for example, if you are speaking about a reach campaign, the main metric is the engagement rate and cost per reach. If you are talking about a traffic campaign, the main metric is the CTR. And we try to improve all of these metrics across all of the campaigns by 10%. But we believe experimenting with different stuff, different channels is a really crucial to achieve this 10% growth. And I think it is crucial also to show both the good picture and bad picture, because okay, we do experiment a lot, but not all of the experiments turn out to be the perfect experiments. But I believe applying the Pareto principle here is very important. We know that not all of our experiments will be successful, but 20% of the success rate in our experiments will bring 80% of the impact. And for the successful experiments, we tested influencers before LinkedIn even had the influencers beta program. We create our own influencer as by putting the screenshot of Fran's post, Alice's post, Liam's post, and we directed them to the relevant pages. And even though it started with like really small budgets, like maybe 1% of the budget, we ended up actually generating a huge amount of pipeline, and we were not expecting that. The other experiment that ended up with success was the job function targeting. We did try to use job title targeting on LinkedIn, but then we realized that it was limiting our reach. Then we switched to job function targeting in couple of the underperforming campaigns, but now all of our campaigns have the job function rather than job title, and now our engagement levels are much better. The other successful experiment was on Facebook. Now we are generating actually a huge amount of pipeline on Facebook. But also there have been some failed experiments. Like we did try to over segment on Facebook. Like Facebook was working, then I thought, okay, maybe we could segment Facebook more. Like we could use intent data on Facebook. We can use the same granular approach that we have on LinkedIn on Facebook. Didn't work. YouTube Influencers didn't work. Capterra, we actually tried to really hard to be on the 5th position on Capterra because 4th position was more expensive, and I thought there's no difference between 4th and 5th positions. There was, but it is live and learn, and I believe the mindset should be experiment-led growth, and in order to understand that whether an experiment has been successful or not, we start by looking at the in-platform metrics. They're helpful, but they don't tell you the whole picture, and they're actually not the things that I care about the most. But yeah, they show the picture. However, the actual decision depends on the pipeline performance. Is this experiment somehow impacting the pipeline in a positive way? Are we seeing, for example, more self-reported attribution if we are testing for YouTube? If we are testing for Capterra, is there a correlation between the increase in the Capterra form submissions and the pipeline? But all of the success at the end of the day depends on the pipeline, but nothing else.
Yeah, I hear you. I think there has been, a couple of questions just around attribution. And I think from, you've touched on it here, but the self-reported attribution piece has been like a real game changer for us in terms of, and by that we simply mean we add it to our thank you page, but it's like, how did you hear about us? And it's a free text field. And I think since we have ran, I mean, obviously, Canberk, correct me if I'm wrong, but since we've started running like certain experiments like on YouTube or, as you say, Facebook, we've seen the self-reported attribution field for that specific channel increase tenfold. So it's almost like, well, maybe not tenfold, but, quite a lot. But it's kind of like showing that the more people are recognizing you like across these different channels, that is so much more valuable than, and you can attribute that to pipeline as opposed to just almost putting somebody in a funnel and guessing like the first touch and the last touch. Is not, you just can't be over reliant on it, but you speak to
definitely, like first touch and last touch, I think one of the most outdated tactics. We know that a B2B buying process consists of more than 50 touches, and now actually we know the exact number. Like for us, an average deal takes a lot of touches, definitely not one or not last touch. And like as you said, Fran, self-report attribution helped us a lot, especially on the YouTube side, because for YouTube, we do promote ourselves on YouTube just for the sake of impressions, just for the sake of view rate. But we don't know at the end of the day people will convert. We did try with QR codes, and yeah, we saw some traction by tracking the QR code. However, we saw the actual tractions on the self-report attribution. People were like, we saw you on YouTube. And we actually saw we saw like probably 7x increase in the YouTube answers on February based on compared to last quarter in Q4. However, even the self-report attribution, okay, it gives you the picture, it tells you the last story, but to be fair, most of the people don't even remember the first touch. They don't even remember the middle touch. Like, okay, it gives you something, but still there's a whole dark funnel that you won't completely understand.
Yeah, 100%.
And by the way, there are a lot of questions. Do I need to answer them now, or
you don't have? We don't have to answer them all now.
Okay, this is my first time. I'm a bit excited. There are a lot of questions. Like
no, you go. We can pick some out now if you want. Are there any that you want to particularly answer right now?
I got so distracted. I need to read all of them, so I will respond all of them at the end of the convo. But yeah, I need to read them.
We'll pick some out at the end, and then if you haven't been able to answer them, knowing you like I do, I feel like you're going to hunt these people down and send them a message on LinkedIn anyway. Okay, cool. Great. Are we?
Okay.
Yeah, we could
This is
do.
the last.
Yeah, we could do this briefly, like just how the collaboration works. So I think if there's been a few questions on like what do the paid team work on versus the demand gen team. So it'd be good to speak to this part.
So I stole it from Alice. Alice tends to say that the paid team is like the performance marketing agency. And for me, it is different, correct. Like I feel like the demand gen team is like the creative agency. They work on the content, they work on the team, they work on the POV, and the paid team is like the performance marketing agency. We run the campaigns, but we get the content from the demand gen team. We optimize the campaigns, we report the results back to DG team, and then they come up with new content as per our recommendations. But I would say for the paid social side, there's a huge collaboration. Like up until the campaign start, up until we run those ads, the demand generation is responsible for from end to end. And once they are done with all of the POV, all of the creative itself, then we run the campaign. And after that point, we are responsible of the performance of that specific ad or the specific campaign.
Great. Cool. So I'm just going to talk a little bit. I think we've spoken about this quite a lot, so I won't labor the point too much. But basically, the approach that we've taken, which we weren't doing previously, we're engaging with subject matter experts. So for us, we wanted to introduce the B2B influencers into the mix. So we work, as you guys kind of probably already tell, we work really closely with Gaetano. Gaetano is one of our subject matter experts at Cognism, and you know we work with him on really just like his tapping into like your expertise, don't we, Gaetano, and just like really leveling up our content. And I think it has been absolutely game changing for us, not only with the SEO strategy and the money keywords, but generally when we think about taking a point of view to the market, we can come to you, we can sanity check, get your thoughts on it. And it's just really helped us to just provide like a lot more value to our audience, which has been amazing. And we've just been able to offer this real like unique point of view. But I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about that, Gaetano, as well, just like from being on the other side of it, I guess, as a subject matter working for different companies.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Fran. So first of all, I never thought I'd see the day where people consider me to be a subject matter expert. Kind of weird, but I guess you're in the game long enough, it's bound to happen. I think it's awesome because at the end of the day, companies are operating in their own little world, their own little bubble. And yes, they see things that people are talking about on social media. They read, threads on various forums. They may even be in Slack communities and so forth. But there's only so much at the end of the day that you can come up with internally as a company. And also, there's a lot of, I would say, apprehension to or a more conservative mindset internally. When you work with someone externally like me, I can be myself. I can be a little bit more radical. I could push boundaries and push the barriers out a little bit further. So you automatically get more interesting insights. And then, like we're talking about B2B marketing and sales. But imagine if you wanted to do this strategy for something that's very different. Like imagine if your industry is higher education, like we saw in the comments here. Or imagine if your industry is cybersecurity, cyber tech. How are you going to go and implement something like this internally, where you have a top level narrative that challenges the status quo, and then your content strategy kind of goes one level below the top narrative, which is, all right, well then how, why, who, where, and then the next level down, which is the very tactical long tail pieces that go into challenging all the status quo stuff that's happening in the industry. So that's one of the benefits you get from working with outside people. To my knowledge, Cognism is the only one doing it in B2B. I don't know, Fran, if you know of any other companies that are actually getting outside people to come in and do stuff. Maybe it's loosely happening here and there, but in terms of what companies are making this like a core push in their playbook, I think you guys are probably the only ones doing it.
Yeah, like we definitely see it out there, but I would say I guess like standout examples like Lavender, like that's kind of different. Like kind of like want to bring that content creation piece like in-house. But I must say that I see people doing the subject matter or going down the subject matter expert route, but I think where the issue lies is there's a lack of consistency. So maybe, for example, a company will engage with a subject matter expert for an interview series of 3 or 4 interviews, and then that will be it. Or maybe they'll feature on like one podcast and then that will be it. So for us, I'd say if I was giving like advice to anyone on going down this route, and consistency has been the key for us. And it's almost like, don't be afraid to enter into like a formal agreement or agree like some set KPIs with your subject matter expert, and just be very transparent and say, right, well, this is what we want to achieve. That could be, I mean, I think we've got slides on it, but I don't really need to talk all the way through. But, they're not just there to help with promotion, like they're there to help. It's great to tap into a big following, of course, but really the most value we've found with subject matter experts is helping us co-write like our newsletters, like ghostwriting newsletters occasionally, or just giving us like strong points that we could make. Because Gaetano, like it's exactly like you said, it's very easy to get that tunnel vision when you're in the same team and you're living and breathing the same product and every single day. So like having that outside knowledge, or somebody even looking at something with a completely fresh pair of eyes, has been so beneficial for us. And it's really it's never really been about tapping into the big following, although yes, it's great, but it's more about like the quality of the content. And we've only like reaped the rewards from that as we've done it consistently. So I'd say that's the key. And it's here, like it's credible, consistent, high quality content. And also I'd say as well, it's not, people see it quite as a challenge to kind of get a subject matter expert on board. But I think if they're really invested in the topic and, enjoy kind of like challenging like things and thinking of new ideas and really have that kind of mentality, it is quite easy to get somebody on board. Like it doesn't have to be a big hurdle, and they don't have to have a massive presence. They just have to, in my eyes, know what they're talking about and be willing to do that consistently. And of course, there's value for the subject matter expert as well, because we promote all of the stuff behind paid social and things such as that. But I'd just say like if you had to do like one thing, like if I went to a different company and I had to do one thing, it would be this. Particularly if it's a market an audience that I wasn't used to marketing to, is getting someone to help amplify those like strong points of view, for sure.
Yeah, I and to tie all this into the AI stuff, this is how you fight back against AI sameness. This is how you fight back against everybody copying each other with AI tools. This is really one of the only ways to do it, because an AI tool can't think. It's meant to be non-biased, neutral, and completely in the center. And the things that Cognism is doing requires you to kind of pick a side almost, right? Like I think everyone can agree with the top level narrative of the way, B2B buying behavior has changed. Yes, I think everyone can agree with that. But then in the how, why, all these things that you guys are corralling, right? This push. Well, I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that don't agree. I think there's a lot of people out there that are still not convinced that content syndication is a waste of time. I think there's still people out there who are convinced that lead gen campaigns, direct response from paid social, measuring it like sales, is still the way to go. I still, just by some of the comments and questions I'm seeing on this chat, I can kind of gather that people are not fully sold that content syndication isn't worth it. People are still trying to hold on to the past, still trying to find some slimmer way of saying, well, couldn't it be this? Couldn't it be valuable if that? Isn't it possible that it can work? Well, we have, the data that we have shows otherwise. And so, I don't know if it's a function of the content syndicator programs have done such a good job of like, I don't want to say brainwashing, but I guess I'll say brainwashing an industry, and that it's really hard to undo that old way of thinking. And so I really don't know where I was going with all that, but it's just, another added rant for today.
No, it's great. I like that as well, because at the winter event we recently attended, like that came up so much, like, are you using ChatGPT? Like, how are your team using AI? And I was like, they're not. Nobody is. But there's a lot of controversial topics around that, actually. But yeah. Cool. So do you know what? We have some slides, but it's on which we will share afterwards, just around tactical quick wins that we've put in place. So what a newsletter could become, what your e-blast can become. So I'm not going to actually read through them all, because you guys can read them for yourselves when we send them over. Let's just use the last sort of 10 minutes or so, or like 8 minutes I think we've got, just to answer everybody's questions. I think that would be a better use of time. So with that being said, I don't know, Jamie, if you can do that thing where the question like pops up. It's very jazzy. Jamie's in the background, sort of helping us run this. But if not, then, oh, yes. Wow. Okay. So any thoughts on how to maximize inbound demo pricing requests? I've had to turn on lead gen campaigns again as sales complained about lack of leads. I've committed 67% of budget to DG. Blah, blah, blah. Cool. Okay. Any ideas on this, guys?
So the first thing I would say, if someone gives you the blueprint on how to increase, maximize inbound demo pricing requests, it is a lie, because there is no one tactic that will work for every company. But like Justin Rowe's framework, it is a good framework, but it actually really focuses on remarketing. And if you have like hundreds of thousands of website visitors, okay, it will work. But if you have like 20K, 30K website visitors, it is not the framework that will change the whole company. But I would say for the quick win, the product value campaigns with some to your ICP could be impactful. And yeah, product value campaigns have always been the quick win campaigns. However, yeah, I don't think there's one tactic that would work every company to maximize their inbound requests. And yeah, I don't think if anyone says that, they're lying.
Yeah, nothing more to add. I think that was a perfect answer.
Definitely. And I think that's the thing. It does take time to build up that momentum, most definitely. Yeah. I think us, when we switched to the value-led approach, we didn't just get loads of inbounds like overnight. And I get it. It's tough and it's hard to get buy-in for that kind of approach. Which is why if you're running both alongside each other while you're proving out the DG way, then I think that's fine. I think that's what most companies have to do. Cool. Okay. Any more questions? One here. There was one around budget actually that I saw earlier. So like here you go. If you're working with limited budget, where would you put your efforts first?
I mean, I would definitely not put all of my eggs in one basket, because to be fair, like all of these companies, including us, we are funded by VCs, and VCs want to see growth. VCs want to see more deals. So I mean, I would keep the things that are working right now, even though they might be inefficient. But I would start with like maybe $20, $30 daily budget to test the stuff that I'm thinking. However, like probably $20, $30 organic social to your ICP, and you can probably start with a bit broad audience to see on LinkedIn, definitely not on Facebook. On LinkedIn, targeting by your specific job function. Then you can go with the demographic report and see which job titles are engaging with your content more. And then you can refine your broad LinkedIn campaign with the job titles. However, yeah, like I would start with like $20, $30 per day until I see a proper pattern.
Yeah, 100%. And then should we just have one more? Yes.
Actually, there's one question I want to answer.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Let's just do two. What do you want to answer?
Okay. Just a second. Do you have any proof that LinkedIn gives more visibility to no-click organic posts versus posts that drive traffic to brand website? Can you actually go back to my slides? I think I mentioned that, but I forgot to speak about it.
Yeah.
And there's a question. Yep, that one. There's a question from Laura that I can answer really briefly. I have read few articles about just going super broad with Meta. Don't. You don't go super broad with Meta. Like you need to be actually extra granular when it comes to Facebook because you cannot actually target properly as you can with LinkedIn. So this one, I think it was the other slide, Frank. Can you please skip that one?
Yeah. Hang on.
Maybe the one, maybe previously, the one that.
Huh? No. Here.
No, the previous one. One previous, one more.
Oh gosh. Could be.
It is there. Yeah. This one. Yep.
Okay. So I wasn't gonna get that.
So I basically ran 2 campaigns. Exactly same audience, exactly same content, exactly same budget. The only different thing was the objective. One of the campaigns had the reach objective, one of them had the traffic objective. The first graph shows that the reach campaign had like 3x more reach with the same budget versus the one that had the traffic objective. However, when we look at the other metrics like CTR and frequency, obviously the campaign that had the traffic objective had much better CTR, like 5x better CTR. The engagement rate was similar, but the campaign with traffic objective had more engagement rate, but also frequency. Compared to the reach objective, the traffic campaign had more than 2.5x more frequency. Because, yeah, LinkedIn, if you optimize your campaigns towards traffic, LinkedIn will eventually get you more clicks. But in order to get you more clicks, it will show your ads to the same people more and more until they click. But if you use the reach objective, the CTR won't be your main objective. Therefore, LinkedIn algorithm will be showing those as many people as possible. And yep, this is the proof.
Amazing. Thank you. Perfect. So we've got a minute, so we'll probably wrap up unless you've got anything, Canberk, that you.
I can be really quick if you want. Like that question. Okay. All of our Facebook and LinkedIn campaigns are always on unless we are testing a new campaign. If we test a new campaign, we give it 2 plus 2 weeks, so 4 weeks. For the first 2 weeks is to check in. The other 2 weeks is to make sure that if it is working or not. What we mean by the influencer ads, those are the ads that we show our own thought leaders like Fran, like Alice, and we basically promote their own LinkedIn post by screenshotting the post itself. It was the previous one. Now the beta program allows us to promote the post organically and natively. So we are going to be doing that. And how are we able to attribute paid social? We were not able to do that. Now we are using hockey stick. We cannot still do that on Facebook level, but on the LinkedIn level, we can track it from impression to close one, and it gave us a huge visibility on which ad is working. Can you talk about attribution? Yes, hockey stick. For Meta, B2B targeting options very limited. Cognism versus plus metadata. Cognism audience is perfect, and we upload that audience to metadata, and we end up targeting people as we do on LinkedIn. Any questions that I missed? Oh, yeah, I'm
not sure. That was a quick fire roundup. I tell you what, though, if we should probably do a whole episode just on paid social and just on paid. So if
one question I missed, does display ads in outdated tactics and compulsive targeting? Depends on your channel. If they bring revenue, not. But if you use display ads for the sake of impressions, for the sake of visibility, no, they are outdated. But if they bring revenue, no.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Right, I'm going to have to stop here because I'll be honest, I need to go. So thank you so much, everybody. And we will send the slides and the recording afterwards. If you do have any more questions, reply. When we send you the email with the slides, reply there. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Connect with Canberk on LinkedIn. He'll be answering questions all night. So cool. All right. Well, thank you so much. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.